Hello, Kristen, and thank you for agreeing for this interview and giving us the opportunity to bring to light the workings of Long Beach Community Table and celebrating the World Environment Day with us. Now, since we have so much to talk about in this limited time, we have curated certain questions that would help us navigate this interview easily. So, if it's okay, can I start with my first question?
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Thanks for having me, by the way.
Pleasure is all ours. So, Christian, I'd like to know, is there enough conversation going around about the importance of protecting the environment?
I don't think so. Not even close. Because obviously things are accelerating in that department. I mean, you see more and more superstorms and drought and heat waves. Like severe heat waves. I know that roughly in India, it was over 130 for several days in a row, if not a week, which is bordering on uninhabitable, or unsurvivable heat. So, I don't think that it's possible to talk about the environmental situation too much.
Yes, because like you said, the heat waves are absolutely terrible, and it was so bad that even at night we did not have proper weather to at least that would give us a break from the hot and very hot afternoons. So, so I really want to know, how is your nonprofit helping towards protecting the environment?
In a lot of ways. One of the things that we do is build gardens in low-income housing areas, or we just yesterday had a nutrition class using stuff that we had built in a garden at a women's shelter. The reason why we're doing this, for one thing, is to help people become more self-sustaining and have the skills, but also if you don't have to transport that food, then you're cutting down on emissions. So the average piece of fruit in the United States comes about 1,500 miles. So if we can cut down on truck emissions, transportation, that's helping for certain with the environmental issues. And then there's other, social justice related issues. Like, it tends to be people who are low income who live on the west side of Long Beach, which is closer to the ports where there's greater emissions. There's also 2 refineries there. So the average person on the west side of Long Beach lives 8 years less than the average person on the east side of Long Beach. This is a true story. So, and there's more cancer, there's more, so we're trying to level the playing field so that people have an opportunity to get out of the environmentally hazardous areas as much as possible. Also, we supply information on, like, you can get free or very cheap solar if you live in those areas. So we're trying to give people that information so that they can lower their utility bills, but also, again, reduce emissions and that kind of thing. So that's probably the biggest stuff that we do related to the environment.
The first point was it was like grow local, consume local. So that so the first point that you made was grow local and consume local. Exactly, so that at least the transportation pollution can be under control. And the second point was literally shocking, that such little can make so much of a difference in a person's life. Kristen, is there something that we as an outsider, somebody who's not a part of any such kind of organization, can do for the environment? And if yes, then how can we do it?
Well, we always need more volunteers. We also need funding. None of this is cheap or free for us. And those really are the biggest 2 things that we're in need of right now. I mean, we have quite a few volunteers, but it kind of goes in waves because a lot of the local colleges and high schools will send their students to us so they can get experience working with these kind of issues. And then, but then the school year lets out, and then in the summer it usually is slower for volunteers. And then, funding is always an issue. Like, there's always things that need to be repaired, equipment that needs to be taken care of, people that need to be paid. Because once COVID hit, how do I say it? We had to ramp up our services so much because so many more people were struggling with food insecurity that we had to eventually bring in permanent employees instead of just volunteers to run the organization. We went from, as probably right before COVID, we were serving maybe 800 people a week, and now we serve over 3,000 people a week. So, and it was even higher for a little while with at the height of COVID. But we expect, because they keep talking about issues of scarcity coming up, like severe catastrophic food scarcity in the next 6 months or so, we expect that the need is going to increase significantly. The lines are getting longer out in front of the warehouse when we have pantry hours and that kind of thing. So it looks like we're headed for much more complicated times, and at the same time, our food sources are drying up. So the need is increasing, but the amount of food that we get is decreasing. So, and the variety and the healthiness, some of the food banks just don't have what they used to have. So that's, I mean, there could be a lot of reasons for this. I think the government, well, I don't want to say the government, but if you cut back on your food supplies, you get to drive the price up. So that is what's happening, is that I'm hearing that a lot of food is being plowed under or whatever because they want to keep prices up, and gas prices are going up. And so we're going to have more and more and more people that are really struggling just with, subsistence and nothing else. And a lot of the people that we help are like paralyzed veterans or cancer patients or whatever, and they actually can't even come to us, so we deliver to them. And then we have 4 open pantries a week, and like I said, the lines are getting longer and longer, and so it'll be very interesting to see what happens in the next few months, but it's definitely going to have a huge impact on the environment. Well, it's kind of a catch-22 because the environment is also affecting food. It's kind of, does that make sense? So right now, that's somewhere, the number of people that we deliver to is around 400 households. Some of them are just one person, some are as many as 4 people. Well, actually, we do have a few still that are 6 or more, but not very many. It's like if both parents are handicapped or disabled somehow. And yeah, so we just do as much as we can to lift up as many people in the community, because I believe that, well, for one, people want to feel connected to the community, and a lot of times our drivers will just have a chat with those people, and it's maybe the only person that they talk to all week. So that's helping mental health. I know this is an off topic, not environmental related, but it's just the better that we do as a community and the more connected we are, I think the more help that we can do, and that really benefits all strata of society, because people that still have money and still have food or whatever get frustrated because the people who've already slipped through the cracks maybe don't have a place to use the restroom, and they do it someplace where it's not so pleasant for the other people. But when we're all working together, it decreases the desperation of the people that are struggling more, and they're less likely to do something kind of desperate. And so I'm way off topic from the environmental stuff now, but really it's very intersectional. Everything that we do is connected in ways that really change every aspect of things. So we're trying to, like I said, we're trying to get people out of the environmentally hazardous areas, if it's at all possible. But it's so hard because rents have gone up so much, and like I said, fuel costs have gone up so much, and food costs have gone up so much. So with inflation, it's just making it much more challenging for people to even raise at all. Sorry, I've got a text coming in right now. So that's kind of where we're at right now. I mean, it's much more complicated. It's a big, very big picture that we have bulk food deliveries to like very low income seniors or people that are in transitional housing that were living in maybe in the parks or by the riverbed, and now they're in a hotel or a motel that he has provided. But they don't get any fresh food. They're not even used to eating fresh food. They're lucky if they can get something from the corner store. And we're trying to like reintroduce healthier food. So, and that it does, increase their life expectancy significantly if they're eating healthier, greener. And we are teaching nutrition classes and cooking classes and all that kind of stuff, just so that we can, I don't know if you can see me, but there's a ring at the same time on my front porch. We're just, where was I going with that? It benefits the environment when people are not struggling as much, period. That's not, like, there's more pollution if you've got people living on the streets, which means increase in disease and on and on. And we don't, all that pollution gets into our system, it's just causing health issues across the board. Does that make sense?
Yes, it absolutely makes sense, even without a proper internet connection, because I was able to relate to all of this very, very, very evidently, because when you talked about how the foods are kept away from going to the market so that the prices rise, and this is actually exactly what leads to inflation. And I don't think it's a problem with one country. I believe this is something that really happens very often in many parts of the world. And when you talked about how
Yes.
World Environment Day is related to mental health, so I don't think it went off topic, but then it was really exploring a more dynamics of one thing, that was environment, because environment is very much related to your mental health, and
Yes.
it's related to like everything. So I believe everything is a net, and we are just a part of that web. So
Yes.
environment is related to economy is related to our mental health is back related to the environment, and when we talk about the living conditions, and like literally everything is interconnected.
Well,
So
food insecurity too is connected to things like domestic violence, for example. If you can't feed your kids and you're stressed out all the time about how to feed them or how to keep a roof over their head, if that's even possible, it automatically increases your stress level. Therefore, you're more likely to have domestic violence issues. If kids don't have enough in their stomach that's healthy, they will do more poorly at school, or may not even care about going to school. But we have tried to reinforce the idea of, if you eat healthier, you're going to do better on those tests. That means you're going to have better opportunities in the future. So we're basically saying the same thing, that it's very intersectional, kind of holistic. You can't just solve one problem. It's all interconnected. So we just went, originally I was an political activist, and had a group of quite a few people that I connected with, and we were going to various parts of the country to help people with like trying to stop an oil pipeline going through. We went to Standing Rock, which you probably know about. And then we went to do hurricane relief after Hurricane Harvey, and things like that. And then finally we said, you know what, Long Beach has enough of its own problems. We could probably just stay put and be as effective, if not more so, than we were before. So, and that feels good, because I'm seeing positive changes in my own environment, in my own community, and that feels good. People really are so thankful and grateful that we are alleviating some of their problems in their house. So they're like, if you don't have to pay for your food, grandma can afford her prescription, or you get what I'm saying? And then we're trying to teach people, not just here, take our food, but if you can, participate in building gardens, participate in the nutrition classes. Food preservation is another thing that we're starting to really focus on, because that food is healthier. If you grow it in your own ground, you know exactly what chemicals are in there, and as opposed to if it's coming from a large grocery store chain or whatever, you don't have any idea what's in it. So again, that's better for the environment, better for the health of the people that are receiving the food and that kind of thing. So it's extremely interconnected, but people don't think beyond that. At some points, I had a few months ago, and he said, "Are you bringing food to people in the parks?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "We're getting complaints about that." And I said, "Well, Number one, I know that there's been people living in that park for over 30 years because I used to live near that park. And it's the same kind of people that are there, people that are really, really struggling, but they're less likely to break into someone's house or break into a business or whatever to commit a crime because they're less desperate, because they have food and warm clothing that we provide and hygiene products, which gives them some dignity and it helps with their mental health. It's just all around better for everybody if the people that are living on the streets are less desperate. What I'd really like to see, of course, is more people off the streets. Like almost every other first world country has very, very limited homeless issues, like especially in the Scandinavian countries and that kind of thing. So I'm Dutch and I have a Dutch sister. Well, she's like an exchange student, but she said we have no homelessness here because the government makes it a priority to make sure these people are fed and that they have a roof over their head, because it's actually less expensive in the big picture for us to take care of the people that are struggling and help them get back on their feet than to let them sit out there and waste away and have it causes more problems in the big picture because there are health issues that go along with it and we end up paying for it. So why not put them in a place where they can have some dignity and some quality of life, and it's cheaper anyway.
It's completely fine, and you actually showed us a very holistic picture, and which did revolve around the environment and how taking care of one thing can lead to a chain reaction, and the rest of the things can automatically fall into place. So, Kristen, this has answered quite a few questions that I was about to ask. It has answered it already.
I mean, it's hard
Yeah.
to just come at it from one direction because it's really everything that is impacted by this. So
Exactly.
yeah.
So I believe the last question that I'm left with is how has the environmental awareness changed through these years, and also the how much people are working for the environment? How has it changed over the past few years?
Due to what we're doing? Is that what you're saying, or in general?
No, so this is in general. In general, people awareness.
I think more and more people, partly due to COVID, started realizing that they need to be able to generate their own food sources. So we are seeing a huge uptick in gardening, for example, and like I said, learning about nutrition and food preservation and that kind of stuff, which impacts emissions and all that kind of stuff like we were talking about before. Right now, we just brought a truckload of soil over to a very, very low-income housing project. That these people would basically be on the streets if it wasn't for this housing project. They have 6 gardens there, and at least 2 of them are very large. So what we're doing is right now is putting that soil in and building those gardens so that if for example, our food sources dry up, they will still have a back and they'll still be able to feast. And the great part about that, so a lot of the people that live there are veterans who have significant mental health issues or whatever the case may be. And just doing things like gardening is actually therapeutic. Therefore, it has the benefit of helping their mental health as well. So I'm also just giving them a purpose and dignity that they were involved in generating their own food. You know what I mean? Maybe I can't afford to go to the grocery store, but I can grow my own stuff. And then I feel like I participated in the process of feeding myself instead of just being fed, which comes with a little bit of humiliation and, not for everybody, but a lot of people feel like, I wish I could participate in this. And I think that a housing project like this is the perfect place to do this kind of thing, where people are just sitting around bored and they don't have any like motivation because things are just their life is just happening to them. It's not that they're participating in their life. So I love to see them dig in. We're going to bring in chickens. We're going to bring in bees so they can do honey. They can have their own eggs, that kind of thing. And it kind of changes the whole atmosphere of that project or that housing project, because there's been crime, there's been a lot of other things, but like I said, when people are less desperate, I feel that they, it improves their mental health. And like even just getting your hands in the soil, they say that there's a chemical reaction sort of that improves your mental health in general. So, and again, we know what's in that.
Kristen, you've been muted.
Soil, so it's healthier. Okay, sorry about that. Wedding over the weekend, and so it's all these follow-up things that are happening. So, anyway, that's my biggest contribution to that question. I see a significant growth in people realizing, you know what, the government's not going to take care of us. The politicians say one thing but do a different thing, and it's time to become as self-sustaining as possible so we can lower that domestic violence, increase healthy mental health, positive mental health, increase academic scores so you can do better out in the world. It covers everything, and you live longer because you're eating healthier. But obviously we're going to have to ramp up new ways of, like, my husband's actually working on something right now that is about extracting water from the air. That kind of stuff. We're starting an aquaponics pond in our backyard. So we're gonna go to Crater Lake because that's got the cleanest fish in the country. And we're gonna go get probably start off with like 4 or 5 fish. They'll spawn, but we also will grow crops on top of it, small crops, because neither of us are very green thumb and we both work a lot of hours. But just to get the ideas running, flowing out there, and to feed it. We have fruit trees all the way around our house so that people can come and take some bananas or some oranges or some whatever, peaches. Because my neighborhood is not selling as much yet. Of course, you feel more on ones, in certain areas than others. But I do believe that with these catastrophic food shortages coming, everybody's going to be feeling more of the stuff. So that's kind of the direction that we're going in, is trying to create as much. We're teaching people about composting. We're teaching people just like reduction of food waste is huge. Even that creates emissions, as you know, well, not emissions, but like a carbon footprint. So California just made its law at the beginning of the year to not allow, to make sure that everything gets composted and not just put into a landfill. So we're all working on compliance with that right now, but I think that's moving in the right direction, but I don't think it's happening fast enough, is really the bottom line. I think we've known in fact, I just saw the other day that there was something in 1912, a newspaper in 1912, talking about how carbon was already impacting the environment, and that it was going to get significantly worse. So we've known about this for at least 110 years. We need to be doing a lot more, a lot faster. But I don't feel like the government entities globally are really trying to address it as quickly as I would like to see it happen. So,
wow.
So our idea is basically we're creating an alternative system. We're not waiting around for these guys to do what seems logical to everybody else, but they don't seem to be concerned about it. I'm not sure why, but I have my ideas of why, but it's really hard to say exactly. But we just have seen a total lack of action on this for across the board for years and years and years. So I don't know. I wish I had the answer, but I feel like there's so many. Since I started doing what I'm doing, or we're doing, for the last 4.5 years, I have seen many organizations jump on board with this same kind of prototype of, how to, this holistic approach of how to fix the community or help the community. In fact, my son on Monday, he goes to UC Santa Cruz, and he is in psychology. So he's, my degree is also psychology, but he's going to be interning at an organization in Santa Cruz that is almost exactly the same model as I do. or what we do. So the idea is spreading and growing, and we really, really, really need to do that. But on an off topic, sort of, in Shanghai, I don't know if you saw this or not, but a lot of people were locked down for what was considered to be a new wave of COVID. I don't know the details, but I do know that people were stuck in their homes, and that military types were going through their backyards and digging up their gardens during this lockdown. There's video of it. I don't know if I could find it or not, and maybe this sounds too kooky out there, but I feel like the governments aren't focused on our best interests. Let's put it that way. And that was an example of, clearly we should be moving in this direction of taking care of ourselves, but yet you guys want us to just keep paying high prices and for food that we can't afford. And then what are we left with? We have to work for like practically nothing just so we can afford, or just so we can feed our kids. That kind of thing. It's kind of overwhelming, but that's what drives me. That's what makes me keep doing what I'm doing, because we see that people are benefiting from it. And so like at this women's shelter where we did the nutrition classes last night, the women were so excited to learn how to cook healthy food and stuff right straight from their own garden, and really made the connection. Now they want to have classes every month. We also had a woman who was teaching children's gardening so that the kids can also start helping their moms with, even if it's container gardens. If maybe you live in a small apartment, but you have a little balcony or a window or whatever, you can grow potatoes, which is a superfood. It literally meets all your nutritious needs or your whatever nutritional needs. And so we're just trying to give everybody every little boost that we possibly can. And I do think that benefits the environment as we switch from a highly industrialized society to a more, maybe hopefully more agrarian, so that people can survive these issues, all these issues. I know I'm probably, but I'm pretty passionate about this stuff, I guess.
I can sense that already, and thank you so much for shedding so much light on the topics, because generally what happens is if we decide a topic, the conversation is going to be on that topic. But then you told me not just about what we were supposed to discuss, but also the holistic, like I said already, a holistic picture, and how taking care of just one thing is kind of not enough, because it's probably linked to each other, and we have to look at everything. And yes, because
when people are super poor and they can't even afford to feed themselves, they don't have the time or the energy or the mental health to focus on solutions, really, if you get what I'm saying. So, and right now, a huge percentage of the U.S. is below the poverty line and barely making ends meet. And they don't even have time to think about, how do I fix this situation? How do I do a better job of feeding my kids or whatever? So we're trying to put that information out there. And as we do that, that will benefit the environment. So.
Exactly. So we can look at environment even through food security and the way we provide food to people. So yeah. So thank you so much, Kristen, for agreeing for this interview and helping us understand so much about the environment. And if you have anything to ask me before I hit the end button.
No, I don't think so. But feel free to email me or whatever if you have any other questions or
definitely
add a little bit to it. Okay.